And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
Crystal in Oregon, she is up next. Crystal, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Glad to have you join us. Thanks for holding.
Oh, okay. Am I on the air?
You are on the air.
Okay, awesome. I'm glad I caught up with you this morning. Good morning, Bobby.
Good morning, Crystal.
Hey, I got a Dodge Dakota 2002. I got an 8 o'clock appointment for a starter issue. The pickup's not been starting on the first try for the last month and a half.
Right.
And so and now it was like going 4 clicks, and now it was going 8 clicks, but now it's been starting for the whole week right on the first click. And also, I noticed that the blinkers, they go bad real fast on these Dodge Dakota 2002s. So I'm starting to think, and I just paid for this one switch because all my lights weren't working. I'm wondering, are these electrical problems? And also the starter issue, is that a starter solenoid issue? I mean, and how much do you think I should be charged for that? I'm just curious.
Well, I think the first thing to do, those are all good questions. That yes, they are electrical, and electrical problems can really be perplexing. From a dollar standpoint, Crystal, it would be impossible for me to tell you what it would take to fix the car, but here's what you need to know. And I have just one question of you, well, maybe two. When you say it just clicks, and let me make this noise, and you tell me, because if we have like a low battery, or a battery could have a temporary problem inside with one of the plates that wasn't connected, and you hit the starter, it would go tick 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 tick, boom, then maybe it would start up. Or if you hit the starter button and it would go click and just click just one time. So when you go to start it, when it did this 4 clicks, did it click one of each of 4 times that you went to the starter, the crank mode, or did it go click 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 and then start to start?
No, it did just the click.
Okay, so you went from off to start to crank, rather, to the crank mode 4 different times, and all it did was click, 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 click.
Yeah, and all it did was click, click, click. And see, I just put 4 brand new Toyos on it, and they checked, and Les Schwab checked the batteries, and they said it wasn't the battery. But so
well, here's what needs to be done. Number one, no one needs to replace any parts on your Dakota unless they test not only the battery. I know it's been tested, but you still have this ongoing problem. So here's the procedure. You test the battery by with a regular machine. We have regular machines that test the battery. Now historically, Crystal, we used load testing, which means that we would put this machine on the battery, and we would draw down on the machine. We would load the machine up like we were trying to run it down. And now they have digital battery testers that are less intrusive, less invasive, because those load machines, if you've got a battery that's on the border, on the ragged edge, that's a good push over the side. A load machine will literally ruin a battery, not a good battery, but it'll ruin a battery that may or may not have been the problem. And I'll bring that up because if you push a battery hard enough and you break its back, you can put a new battery in. But if you had a starter problem as well as a weak battery or an aged battery, then you got a starter battery and an alternator problem. And I can't tell you in my lifetime of businesses how many cars that we've ended up replacing battery, starter, and alternator, and invariably the owner would say, well, what was wrong with the car? Was it the battery? Was it the alternator? Did I have to have all 3? So now, and I'm speaking of years of experience here, and now what we do is we never test an alternator or a battery or a starter off the car. You don't do that. You bring the car to me as it sits. Even if we have to bring it in on the hook, you bring the car to me and we start it, we listen to the starter, we check the battery with our digital check machine, which gives us the stamina, the health of the battery, and a lot of information that you normally wouldn't get years ago. And after we crank it, we check the alternator output by turning on all the accessories, the headlights on bright, the air conditioner motor on high, the radio. If there's a rear window defogger, we turn that on. I mean, everything except for the wipers, because you can't run the wipers on the dry windshield, and so we do everything that we can to drain all of the energy that the alternator is producing, and here's something that you can write down.
Okay.
With everything on that can possibly be on, except maybe the wipers, the battery with the engine idling at 1,500, 2,000 RPM, that's a fast clip. But standing, on it still in the shop, the battery must maintain 13 volts. 13.1, 0.2, I don't care if it's 13.01. It cannot fall below 13. If it does, then you've got an alternator problem, and I can't tell you again how many times we've put batteries in cars and checked the alternator and checked okay, but there was a wiring problem, and the customer would come back in a month with a new battery that's dead because the car wasn't supporting the battery, and you put a new battery, well, that's good, it can support the car for a month or 2 weeks or 3 weeks, and the next thing you know, it says, hey, wait a minute, I'm not getting any help from here. And I know I'm giving you a lot of information, but I wanted you to know that...
Oh, no, that's good. That's good.
It's information that I know is applicable not just to your 2000 Dakota, it's applicable to every one of you out there who may or may not have... And let me just share this with you. And we did this online called Bob TLC, and the BOB TLC. The B was for battery, the O was for oil, the B was for belts. So battery, oil, and belts, and TLC, the T was for tires, and the L for lights, and the C was for coolant. So it was sort of we did that with a ABC television, TV3 along the Gulf Coast. It was a great, and it's on if you go to YouTube and just YouTube and then look for Bobby Likis Car Clinic, you'll see or if you just Google all caps Bob TLC, you will see this video, and it's all about how to check your tires and how to check your lights and why you should do those things. So for you, my dear, what I'm suggesting is that you get your car into a shop, which is where you're headed. I'm
at the dealership right now waiting in line.
Good.
8 o'clock appointment.
Good. And you talk to the technician and you say, hey, I want you to check not only the battery, not only the starter. And one more thing, Crystal, forget about replacing the solenoid. If the starter comes off that vehicle and has to be a new solenoid, another starter goes on. The labor to R&R the starter, it's not, you can't know. A technician can't know that just the solenoid will fix the starter. And if the solenoid is the same age as the starter, it's like replacing one front shock. No. You replace both front shocks and or both rears or all four, just like you replace.
I did when I got the tires too.
Okay.
I did all 4 shocks.
There you go. Well, how does it drive with new tires and shocks?
Oh, it's sweet. It took out the bouncing over the things, and I like it. It even helped the steering a lot more, too. So.
Well, one more quick story, and folks, we'll open the phones for you at 888 Car Clinic, 888-227-2546. So Crystal, Labor Day, I'm going over to a friend's house for brunch. I'm going down the interstate, running the speed limit. I got the Viper out. I hadn't driven it literally this year. I'd put only 34 miles on the Viper this year. I had a right rear tire that had a slow leak, and I'd pumped it up and, yada, yada, yada. I'm going down, and I heard this boop. And Diane turns to me, and she says, no, I turned to her. I said, what'd you drop? I thought you dropped my iPad. She looked at me. She said, I didn't drop anything. She said, there was something in the road, and I'd already looked in the back behind me, didn't see anything. She said, you must have something in the trunk. Hey, I don't have anything in my trunk except a car cover. And we exited the interstate, made one turn, and all of a sudden, boop, 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 I pulled over. Luckily, there was no curb there, so I was able to pull onto the grass part between the sidewalk and the street, and the right rear tire blew out.
Ooh.
And the tire had tread. It was just an old tire. I don't drive the car much, but I will tell you, this tire was 10 years old. 8 years old. 8 years old.
Oh, nice.
And I just put a new set of tires on that car, set of rear tires on that car yesterday at noon, and to the tune of a little better than $1,000 for those 2 tires. But they're special because they're 13 inches wide. Here's the point. just because the tire has good tread doesn't mean the tire is good. And there's a born on date on the tire that will, and it's the last 3 letters. For instance, on mine, it was 32 2. No, 32 2. Yes, 32 2 means that those tires, and I ordered them direct from the factory. Those, so I could get the youngest tires that I could get. Those tires were made the 32nd week of 2012.
Oh wow! Okay.
So I'm good for 10 years if I didn't drive the car but 1,000 miles a year. But just wanted you to know. 10 years is the maximum, 6 years. And when you go to buy a set of tires at a dealership or a tire store, you want to know the born on date because a lot of times there are tires that are 6 or 7 or 8 years old, been on the rack back there, and you get a great deal, except these tires are old, and true, they may not have been exposed to UV rays and the sun's UV rays, but nonetheless, still something to know. You want to get the youngest set of tires that you possibly get. Yeah, a lot of people don't know about that. Hey, thanks you much for your call. Let me know how your experience goes with the dealer. Where are you in Oregon?
I'm at a place called Dick's Country Dodge in Hillsboro, Oregon.
Well, thank you so much for calling. Give me a shout next week. Tell them that they're on the hot seat now. It's up to them. We're going to get a report.
Okay.
Okay.
Hey, thanks, Bobby. You have a great day.
You have a great day. Have a good experience. Thanks for your call.